G'day guys and welcome back to Ados the Great YouTube channel. So guys, it's time for not only my round 5 NRL tips, but it's also time for the recap of my round 4 NRL tips and what happened on the weekend. So let's have a look. Let's start her up here. So as you can see, I tipped the Gold Coast Titans. I got that one right. Now, this was by far the worst game of the round. It was terrible. There was one try scored, and it was in the last minute or the last few seconds of the game. It wasn't a good game of football at all. And honestly, the Titans were lucky to win this game. If anything, I feel sorry for Michael Maguire. Look, he was a great coach for us on the Rabbitohs. I'll turn my cap around so you can see that Rabbitohs. He was a great coach for us on the Rabbitohs, took us to a grand final, but then his game style became too predictable. So I don't know if that's what's happening at the Tigers here, but they definitely need, I think they need some sort of change in the board before Michael Maguire is sacked. There needs to be something done. Somebody needs to be held accountable because the Tigers just aren't playing NRL quality football. And they've got a pretty good team. They have decent players. They just can't put it together. All right, next up we've got Cronulla 18-0 winners over the Knights. Got that one right as well. I thought the Sharkies would have a pretty good win, but I wasn't expecting it by that much. And that nearly pushes the Knights out of the top 8. Now, Newcastle were one of the surprise packets of the year. They came out firing early in the first couple of rounds, but then they've now sort of taken a back step and seem to be struggling a bit. Good win for Cronulla. What's his name? Talakai. I can't remember his first name. Siosifa Talakai. Brilliant game in the centres. Huge. Look, I'm annoyed that the Rabbitohs let him go. He's really found a home in Cronulla, and South Sydney I don't know what the hell they were doing. He barely played footy for him. I think there was a whole season where he didn't lace up the boots for Souths, and I personally think that was a bad call for us to let him go because now he's just carving it up in Cronulla, and I wish him all the best. I think he's definitely found his home, and I would have loved to have kept him, but at the end of the day, that's footy, isn't it? A lot of good players leave and go to other clubs when that club doesn't see the potential. All right, next up we have a disappointing game for South Sydney, and the Rabbitohs were quite competitive in this game for the most part. They let it slip at the end of the game. I was proud of the boys for how they turned up for the most part, but we completed 64%. Panthers completed 85%. If you're completing that low, you're not going to win football games, especially against teams like the Panthers. They're just solidifying how good of a team they are, and I don't think they're going to lose anytime soon, to be honest. Next up, we have the Broncos and the Warriors. I did get this tip wrong, and I must say, and it's not me being a salty Rabbitohs fan, but I don't think Adam Reynolds was a good signing for the Broncos. Personally, I think he probably would have been a slightly better fit on the Cowboys, but I don't know. Look, it could just take a little bit more time for him to gel into the side, but the Broncos side we saw in round 1, led by Kurt Capewell, they were brilliant. They were, they were really good. They threw the ball around. They didn't rely on their kickers. Their kicking game wasn't there because it didn't need to be. They just passed the ball around. They had damaging runs. I don't know. I think look, Adam Reynolds does bring a good amount of leadership to the club. I'm not denying that. He definitely brings leadership to that club, but at the same time, I don't know if they need that type of player there. The leadership, yes, but they get that in Kurt Capewell. So I don't know. I think Reynolds might have been the Broncos' attempt for a quick fix, but for me, I just don't think it was the right move. And I know a lot of people are going to come at me saying that I'm a salty Rabbitohs fan, and oh, I hate the Broncos. I've heard it all before, but personally, I just haven't seen enough of this to say that this was a good signing for the Broncos. Maybe I'll eat my words at the end of the year or next season when they're a completely different side and looking to push for a top 4 spot. I don't know, but at this point of time, from what we've seen, I think they're a bit lackluster, and that's even with Reynolds there. I think they had their best game of the year when Reynolds wasn't there. So look, take with that what you will. I know a lot of people are going to come at me about this, but that's just my opinion. We're going to move on from that game now before I get a lot of hate comments, because that's just how the rugby league world is. Someone can't have an opinion without hate. But we move on because I won't get any further into that. And another tip right. So I did get 6 from 8 this week, so I was pretty happy with that. Like the 2 losses, I guess a fair few people probably would have tipped that way. Like 72% tipped the Broncos. The Cowboys one, I'd say, is probably going to be different. 72% probably tipped the Roosters. But we're on to the Seagulls and Raiders game. Now, I don't know what's going on with Canberra. I don't know. Manly played really well in this game, and that was all off the back of Daly Cherry Evans. I've been a fan of Cherry Evans for years. I didn't like what he did with the Titans, where he backflipped on the deal, but at the same time, I really liked DCE, and I think he is such an. A lot of people say he's overrated, but I personally think he's an underrated player. I completely understand that Manly's success last year was on the back of Tom Trbojevic, but I still don't think they make the preliminary finals if Daly Cherry Evans isn't in that side. I'm just saying, he brings a lot of composure to that team. He's an amazing player. And yeah, look, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate comments for this one, because you guys are going to just, come at me about Daly Cherry Evans and the take on the Broncos. But Manly were very good in this game. And I thought the Raiders were very lackluster. They just don't look like the Raiders of old. Jack Whiten seems like he's trying. I think Jared Croker needs to come back into that squad as soon as possible. I don't know why we haven't seen Xavier Savage. I think the Raiders just need to play around with that lineup and see what they can do to fix this, because they're in a bit of trouble, I think. Next up, I want to have a look at the game info here. So 67% did tip the Roosters. Look, in hindsight, I probably should have taken the Roosters. I said in my ladder prediction video that I thought the Cowboys would be tough to beat at home, and I think they still will be. I think this is a good learning curve for them, but the Roosters were just clinical, and the Cowboys were stunned. They were just stunned by how well the Roosters played, so shout out to the Roosters for that one. That was a good win for them. This one. Storm versus the Bulldogs. Now, Obviously, I tipped Storm. I thought they'd get a good win here. I did not think they'd beat the Bulldogs 44-0. Was not expecting that one bit. Storm absolutely came out and destroyed the Bulldogs on the back of Ryan Pappenhausen. I thought Gerard Hughes had a brilliant game. Brandon Smith was electric off the bench. Harry Grant had a good game too. Let me just have a quick look at the stats here. Where are we? Like, Melbourne as a complete team. I thought Xavier Coates was really good too. Like, let me just have a look. All right, so yeah, Harry Grant was good. Brendan Smith off the bench, brilliant as well. Munster was all right, but look, I think the top 3 performers for Storm were definitely Ryan Pappenhausen, Jerome Hughes, and personally, I think Xavier Coates gets a shout out there for me. But yeah, good win for Storm. Bulldogs, I wouldn't be too worried about this. They're still finding their combinations and stuff like this. Oh, look, Bulldogs fans, look, this is probably going to be a tough take too, and I'm going to have Bulldogs fans hating me in the comments as well. But prepare yourselves not to make the top 8 this year. This year for you is like a whole trial season. You guys are going to sort out, what combinations work best. And then next year, I think you guys are going to be a tough team to beat. You guys are going to win some pretty good games this year, but at the same time, just you're going to be waiting to see what combinations work well, and that's not a bad thing. It's good. Lastly, we had the Eels flogging the Dragons. Not gonna lie, I didn't watch this game, but I did hear that Dylan Brown, Mitchell Moses, both had amazing games. Uh, like tipsters had Eels winning this one easily, and they did. So very surprised by the Eels. I won't lie, I did have them around 8th spot, but I think if they continue to play like this, they're a top 4 spot, no doubt. All right, but the reason we're all here after I've spent probably 15 minutes talking about last week, because I didn't actually do I'm probably not going to do a recap of the round. I'll probably just do that with my tips. So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do moving forward. But yeah, let's have a look and see who I'm tipping this week. Starting off with the first game. Now, this is going to be a good game of football. And you know what? I actually think Manly are going to beat the Knights. I'm backing Manly here. And I know you guys are probably going to be like, that is a bad take. Yeah, take that back. They've got Kalen Ponga. They got a good team. I think he's, I can't pronounce his last name, Kula or Kurta or something like that. The new Manly fullback, I think he's going to do a good job for them. And honestly, Daly Cherry Evans is probably in some of his best form this year. I think Manly can still get this done. I think the Knights are on a bit of a downward spiral now. The first few games for the Knights were good, but I think now they've kind of hit their peak and they're on the way down. So I'm back at Manly in this one. Next up is another tough one to tip. Look, Cowboys are going to want a good bounce back game after that shocking performance against the Roosters, but I think the Warriors are building something quite nice. I'm going to back the Warriors in a close one here. I know that's probably a tough take there, but that's what I'm backing. I'm backing the Warriors. I'm going to come back to this game and this one because obviously Rabbitohs fan, I'm going to be talking about the Rabbitohs a fair bit. And I want to talk about this game a fair bit as well. But then we've got Storm against the Raiders. This is a game the Raiders could win. The Raiders play fairly well against Melbourne when they're not playing in Melbourne. I think I'm still going to back Storm, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders turn it up and get a win here. Next up, Titans and Eels. Look, personally, I think the Titans should have about 15% tipping, like the tipster's choice thing, whatever the hell it's called, tipping percent. Let's see. I think they should have at least 15. They've got 8. Look, I do agree with the tipsters. I think Parramatta are just in too good a form. But this is another game I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans won. This one, look, I'm going to tip the Sharks by 20. I think they will win this one. I don't know what the Tigers are going to do. They're in a world of pain at the moment, and I just think the Sharks are going to make it worse. Finally, Panthers, easy win over the Doggies. I hate to say it, but like the Dogs are not going to compete with the Panthers. They're just not. It's as simple as that. This game, I know the tipsters, like the user tips, 92%, I know that. But you know what? I'm tipping an upset here. I'm back in the Broncos. After that loss last week against the Warriors, I think they're going to want to try and get back on track. And I think Reynolds is going to want to win this game. I think more than any game, probably, maybe the Rabbitohs. He might want to beat the Rabbitohs a little bit more than the Roosters, but I think that Rabbitohs rivalry is going to come out of the young fella, or the little fella, and I think they're going to get the win. I'm backing the Broncos here. Probably my boldest pick of the week would either be that one or Manly, more than likely, but I think the Broncos get this one done. Not confident with that at all. The Roosters definitely on paper, probably the better team, but I think this is the Broncos' redemption this week. I think they'll get the job done. And in this game, very confident the Rabbitohs will get the win there. 96 to 4%. Wow, that's a bold prediction. That's wow. Can't believe the tipsters have us that. Look, the Charity Shield proved that the Dragons can be a tough team to beat. I hope the Rabbitohs do get a good win over them. We do. We really need a good win to get us back up in that top 8. Sitting 13th at the moment does not sit well for me. I do think that this will be a tougher game than a lot of people are suggesting. But obviously I've got to back my boys, and I definitely think we can get the job done there. Very nervous about the dropping of Jackson Paulo, bringing in Josh Mansour. I thought there was other options that played well in a New South Wales Cup team, but well, look, Josh Mansour, I'm sure he's been playing well in the New South Wales Cup, but he definitely does need to improve defensively, and I hope he does that this week for the Rabbitohs. But yes, guys, that is going to wrap it up from me. Let's just go over my tips one more time. Manly to beat Newcastle, Warriors over the Cowboys, Broncos to beat the Roosters, Storm over the Raiders, Rabbitohs over the Dragons, Eels to beat the Titans, Sharkies to beat the Tigers, and Panthers to beat the Bulldogs. All right, guys, that is going to wrap this one up for me. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.